This is the first time it's been a Brian and Starla Q&A, I think, ever.
Yes, we've never actually spoke to each other in voice.
Have we? Really? We've never spoke to each other in voice?
We have not.
In human.
Hi, Starla.
Hello. I love how we jumped into this call, and we just immediately started talking about Etsy. Yep. There was no introductions. I've heard your voice a million times and you've heard mine just because we haven't communicated directly,
Exactly. So for everyone that doesn't know, I'm Brian.
I'm Starla. This is Bubbers, who's going to probably yell at me the whole stream because I think he's hungry, but there he goes.
And don't worry, mine will come because they're hear me talking, and then the cats could talk to each other through the stream. It'll be perfect.
Perfect. Well, that's why people are here. They're not here for us. They're here for cats.
We're just window dressing for the cats. We're just background singing.
Well, I've got the advertising right here. So, guys, happy Thursday. Welcome to another live eRank Q&A. Obviously, it's your guys' job to fill the chat with your questions, whether they be Etsy related, eRank related. I'm pretty darn good at social media marketing, so I'm happy to answer those. Pretty much anything that you want. And we do have a couple quick things to go over before we dive into your questions. There were some early bird questions asked in the eRank group, which if you're not a member of that, make sure that you go to the link down below in the video description and join. There's usually a post pinned every Wednesday by our lovely Pam, where you can get your questions in early. That way, if you can't make the live session, you can watch the replay. But Pam normally schedules it. Yeah, Pam normally schedules. Pam's not here. Nobody knew. I didn't even know I was going live until last night. I had no idea. So we're like, who pinned the post? Nobody made the post. So it went up today, but we did get some questions. So thank you to the two people who submitted them. And
more importantly, Anna just said eRank needs to have an in-person holiday party in Vegas. So Anthony, if you're listening,
Vegas party. I don't know. There's Anthony and I are both in Ohio.
True.
So I dare say, Ohio, we could party in the corn.
And I'm quite close to Ohio too, or at least not too far.
Yeah, you're like the hat. You're the US's hat.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Brian, should we get into the policy update, since that's probably not going to affect very many people, but I think it's still important to note.
So let's hit that one first.
Sure.
Etsy is strengthening the approach to mature content on Etsy.
Yeah, and what the heck does that mean? Well, I'll give you guys a link that you can look at, and it will give you some more details. But basically, if you sell adult, we'll just say toys, keep it friendly, PG, and they are insertable into special areas of the body, they can no longer be sold on Etsy as of July 29th. So I do feel bad for those sellers, because looking at words, the most searched adult words on Etsy in our monthly trend report, one of those items is at the top of the list, and last month got 13,710 searches. So
it's a hot topic.
And most of the items that are in our top Etsy, most searched 18 plus keywords are items that will no longer be able to be sold, which if you guys didn't know, we do have an 18 plus category on eRank. We tend to scrub our other categories and make sure that all of the wordy dirds are in one list, but you can find that in the monthly trend report under the adult category if you're curious as to what these wordy dirds are. That one I'm not a huge fan of, because I think that everything has its place, but I do know that a lot of drop shipping does take place in that category, so I can see why they're doing that.
And there's also a lot of health issues that could come with that, and
right, very unregulated.
Yeah.
And then also prohibited items that depict acts and parts. Obviously, those should be a given, but if you are selling products, for example, body jewelry, you need to start being very, very careful about how you're displaying those pieces, not using real models for them, maybe pivoting to, mannequins and things like that. And then one thing that I thought was interesting, they're cracking down on sellers who utilize language that alludes to a family member in sexual ways, which of course I'm like, yes, yeah, that is a great thing. But there's that cultural part about, people saying, mommy
Daddy.
and
Yeah.
daddy, right? And I can, that's more of a younger generation cultural thing where everybody says it. Like me and my husband say it to be funny. We say it in front of our daughter just to make her go, oh my God, dad, mom, stop. So, just make sure that you're reading the policies, and I will go ahead and pop those into the chat. But also, there are little areas in that policy update that you can click to expand and read more. So if you don't feel like your question is answered in this, look for the little highlighted areas that say here with the underline, so you can click into those and get some more context. Brian?
And created by EJF actually said, so the perfect boyfriend Starla's mom makes won't be coming to Etsy. It actually can.
Yes.
Because it's not an insertable, or you're not inserting anything into it. It doesn't depict any sexual acts. So it's actually fine. It's just the first photo would need to be blurred or censored.
Exactly. He's as of right now, the perfect crochet boyfriend doll is anatomically correct, but maybe not as dense as it would need to be.
Yes.
So perfect boyfriends could make an appearance on Etsy. I don't know. All right. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to switch my account because it doesn't look like it's allowing me to post the link as my Starla More account. So I'm going to do it from the eRank account.
Okay.
There we go. All right. There you guys go. Okay. What is next on our list?
The next update was holiday schedules. Holiday processing schedules have been added. Since the beginning of the spring, you've been able to change whether you do processing on the weekend. You could turn on or off the weekends. By default, it was off, but holidays have always been on. So if a shipment was supposed to ship out on Thanksgiving, it would still be set as Thanksgiving. You would have to manually extend the shipping date. Now you could actually turn those holidays off as processing times and shipping days to give yourself a little bit more buffer room so that you don't have to work during holidays. And you can find that by going to your shipping settings. It'll be the first window right at the top for processing options, processing schedule. Click on the edit button and you could turn on or off holidays. And this is one of the first times that Etsy has actually done something, which is go regional. So if you're in the US, you will see US holidays. If you're in Canada, you will see Canadian holidays. If you're in the UK, you'll see it'll be the holidays of your local shop. That's something that Etsy usually does not take into account, which is one of the reasons that they haven't implemented anything like this, because Thanksgiving in the US is different than Thanksgiving in Canada, and it doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. So does that matter based on the buyer, the seller, and do people take off? What if people aren't religious? What if people don't follow that particular? There's lots of different aspects. And so they have finally done something that I believe is a very positive thing, and it's regional, which is very helpful for us Canadians.
Yeah. I mean, every time Etsy makes an update, there's always the talk of, what about me? What about my specific situation? So if Etsy is finally starting to acknowledge that there is more to the world than just the US and our holidays, that's fantastic.
The US, even though it's still a growing market, it's shrinking in share as far as Etsy goes, because the UK, Canada, Germany are starting to rise significantly. So they're starting to take the rest of us a bit more seriously.
Good.
And soon GoImagine will have us too, hopefully.
That's true. More to come on that on the eRank front. We're in talks. We're in cahoots. We're making things happen. It's going to be a while, but we are making things happen. So if you're selling,
they seem very friendly. They seem very they want to be involved in everything. They're very open about it all, and so I think it's going to be a perfect fit if they have data that can actually be used.
Yeah, and it's not like it's going to be Etsy level. We're talking about a marketplace that has 6,000 sellers.
Yeah.
But the difference is that we'll have all of it. Whereas with Etsy, any SEO tool that you utilize has to obtain that data third party. And lucky for you guys, when it comes to eRank, Anthony is very selective about where we get our data from, ensuring that it is ethically obtained and not stolen from people without them knowing that their data is being utilized. And we have a lot of it. But obviously no one has all of it. So when it comes to GoImagine working directly with them to have all of it, that is going to, it's not going to be an accurate representation. It is going to be exactly what people are searching
The
for, how much
real data.
exactly. And we'll also be able to see really cool things like, for example, oh, if a lot of people are searching for blue gemstone necklaces on GoImagine, but GoImagine, because they're so small, they don't have any blue gemstone necklaces. That tells you, wow, people are looking for these items and they're not finding anything there. I can fill that gap with my own blue gemstone necklaces that I make. So, you know, I see a lot of fun possibilities there. We got to get our button gear and get everything together to make it happen for you guys.
Yep.
All
Very
right.
excited about that. And we're running out of things. So if people have questions, don't forget to throw them into the chat.
All right. Well, we do have 2 in the queue. We've got, oh wait, no, you've got that too. I forgot about that one.
As of 2 days ago, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, the old listing form is officially retired, which means any features that are currently not available, like translations, fixing the global and domestic pricing tool, there's a few things that are not available in the new listing form yet, and used to have to jump to the old listing form, and now that is no longer an option.
Have they added the ability to add alt text yet?
Nope. There's a few things. I imagine that within the coming weeks, there's going to be like some huge changes to it to add these features that are missing. But they were definitely more ambitious than they should have been.
Yeah.
They overpromised and underdelivered on this one, and you're supposed to go the other way.
Well, I mean, if we've already optimized our alt text, and let's assume that we haven't utilized the new listing form to upload new listings, we're just working with whatever we list.
It is still active.
So alt text, you know, is kind of grandfathered in that
Exactly.
we've already put. Okay.
So if you had translations in there, they're still in place. Anything that's not in the current form that was in the old form is still in place. It's just if you need to change anything, if you need to change anything, then you can't.
Okay. Well, you know, that's good for everybody who's been staying on top of those things.
Yes.
I just really hope that, especially the accessibility features and things, that they get those rolling in time for Q4, because obviously, I mean, I've been looking at the shopping patterns as well as last year's. And last year, August was when I saw the most searches for many of the Halloween related terms. Whereas most people, you know, they assume September is when they should get that stuff listed. It was at its highest in August. And that's what my video on Tuesday is going to be about. And this year, everybody, I feel, is going to be even more out of whack, because Easter was in March, and right after Easter, it's like people got into summer mode in April. And now I think
June was Halloween month.
Exactly.
At Home, Lowe's, Joann's, they all started having Halloween stuff. And I'm in all the Halloween groups, not only because that's what we sell, but that's just who we are. And so we're seeing all of the new things, and we're like, oh, we haven't even thought of Halloween yet. We're behind. Granted, all of our stuff is Halloween, but nothing Halloween specific for 2024. And the big box stores are already there. It's getting earlier and earlier every year.
Yeah. So make sure, guys, that if you haven't gotten Halloween listed, I mean, do it now, right now. I know it feels way too early, but it's not. People are so excited to decorate for Halloween. I mean, my mom's house is Halloween all year round. It's all black and red and skulls and Ouija boards. So there are people like that who want this stuff right now. Make sure that you're focusing. Make sure that you're focusing on it. And if you're nervous about launching Christmas too early, I promise July, we start to see those searches for things like ornaments and cards and decor and gifts. So don't be afraid to get that stuff listed early, because people are not going to wait until December to buy ornaments. They're not even going to wait till November. They want that stuff ahead of time.
Especially the way the last few years have gone with how bad shipping has been. It's getting earlier and earlier that people are thinking about Christmas, just because they want stuff to arrive in time, and they want to be able to decorate for December. So they're ordering earlier and earlier so that they can have their tree up and everything ready to go.
Exactly. I don't know about you, Brian. I don't know when you guys decorate for Halloween, but for me, it's like September 1st. I flip the switch and then I am decorated for Halloween, or I mean, for holidays until April. There's no gap in between the holidays. It's Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Easter. And then it's summertime and we bust out the patriotic stuff.
Fair. Oh no, we're always Halloween here.
Yeah. All the time.
Sometimes Christmas kind of slips in a little bit, but Gothic Christmas.
Right. Exactly.
Nightmares before Christmas.
Exactly. All right. Well, we do have a couple questions in the chat. We will get to you guys in just a minute, but we have a question from Linda and a question from Megan that were submitted early. You want to go ahead and
Linda said, I was wondering if we could discuss the new Etsy algorithm announcement per Pam's video and any times for things we can do to stay visible and in the flow. Basically, what's changing is the way listings are going to be shown. So if there's 80 listings and they're the exact same listing, then Etsy's not going to show all 80 on the first page, just because then the buyers aren't getting anything different. They're not seeing anything that they're not getting what they want. And the whole point of an algorithm is to show buyers what they want. And they don't want just 80 of the same thing, because if they don't want that thing, they don't want anything. They're just going to move on to either another search or to another platform. And everyone wants everyone to stay on Etsy Marketplace. The way to stay relevant is to stay different. As long as your photos are different, as long as your listings are different than anything else out there, there will be some similarities. If you're selling a butterfly necklace, it's going to look like a butterfly necklace, just like everyone else's, but you still have to differentiate it, make it look different, make it pop from the search results. If you're using the exact same color scheme, the exact same zoom ratio, the exact same everything as everybody else, then you're not standing out, and that is what will be brought down in search results. Yeah. So as long as you're standing out, as long as you're doing something that pops, you have nothing to worry about.
And this is extremely important for those who are the trend, seekers, the ones who seek to make the trending items, because on one hand, if you can be first for a trend, maybe something turns into a meme and, gains overnight success, and you're the first person to make it. Etsy, or Josh Silverman, I should say, stated that they will look at what was listed first. If you were the first one to make the thing for this trend, awesome. So for those of you who love staying on top of new trends, this is good news for you. But for those of you who are looking at those trends like mama bear shirts with, a mama bear and baby bears, okay, how many of those do we really need on Etsy? There are like 50,000 listings, all with the exact same general idea on them. So making sure that you're not just doing what everyone else is doing, but you're finding new ways to do the things that are popular, so that things like your images are unique. Another thing to note is that for the POD sellers, especially, even if you're utilizing mockups, which, we kind of have reason to believe based on our research, or I should say my research, this is Starla speaking as Starla, and what we're hearing from the employees over at Printify is that people who are buying mockups on Etsy from other Etsy sellers, despite me thinking this is wonderful because we're helping the internal ecosystem, Etsy's not seeing it like that. They're seeing white woman with her head kind of cocked to the side, smiling, wearing, a shirt. There's a plant in the background. Well, when Etsy's looking at a full image, they're not just looking at the design on the shirt. They're looking at every single thing in that photo, and then they're matching it with lots of other photos. We believe that this is causing a lot of sellers to be suspended because Etsy's policies clearly state that your photos either must accurately represent your items, which alludes to you taking your own photos. That's what I do. Or they must come from your print provider. It's not no ifs, ands, or buts. If it is, a robot enforcing Etsy's rules, if it's like they say, it's an AI system, then that robot's going to follow the rules exactly as they're written. And unfortunately, that means that genuine sellers are getting shut down. And I can see why, because there isn't a lot of variation there. And this shift in the Etsy algorithm, I believe it's making the algorithm better. I know that my most recent searches on Etsy, and Brian and I were just talking about this, they've actually been getting way more precise, and I'm actually finding things that I'm looking for. But I'm also noticing less clumping of the same, cheesy mock-ups over and over again. And for those of you who are wondering, like, well, I do use mock-ups from my print provider, and how are all our images are going to look the same. So how are we going to fare? Go in and add a little something to those mock-ups. Take them into Canva. You have the same model. It came from your print provider. Remove the background and put her in on a beach. Remove the background and stick something back there. Or if it's a mug, put a table underneath it. There's so many ways that you can still use the mock-up from your print provider, but make that image completely unique, because then you know that it's not a mock-up that you bought on Etsy, so no one else is using it. You can make it fit your branding, and not only that, but maybe you'll get better search placement as a result, because Etsy recognizes that what you have and everything in that image is unique to you.
And it's not just the items in the image itself. If you change the color palette, it's now seen as a completely different image. It's now seen as something completely different. So just changing the color palette of what's going on in the background, that makes a huge difference as far as making it not clump in with everything else.
Exactly. And I mean, spend a little bit of time on Etsy, both on desktop and mobile. Search for things that you're genuinely interested in. Who knows, you might find something you want to buy and you can support another seller. But spend time looking at how the algorithm is working for you. Now, granted, we're all going to have a layer of personalization, which is a good thing. That means that Etsy's more likely to match our items with the exact type of customer who would be most interested in buying it. We want personalization, but it allows us to see how our personalized experience looks. And from that, we can see what challenges our customers might be facing on their own personalized experiences, which, a couple of weeks ago, it was awful. My husband was, looking for one item and getting completely different items that he'd looked at months ago. And now when I'm making searches, I'm actually getting listings that are relevant to what I was looking for.
Exactly. It's getting significantly better than it was, and it's only going to keep getting better. But that means listings that either are exactly the same as other listings or that really don't match will start kind of dropping down in search ranking for that search term as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, we did have one more question from Megan. And Megan, I'm going to kind of summarize it a little bit. But basically, she sells items that can be purchased for lots of different occasions: graduation gifts, weddings, anniversaries, birthday. She said, is it better to target specific occasion keywords within each listing, or should I keep it more generic? For example, should I say that a specific item is for a 25th anniversary gift, even though it could also be a birthday gift? It feels strange to arbitrarily assign a specific occasion to an item that can be used for many different gift-giving events. So with attributes, we'll start there. With attributes, which are the little drop-down menus, they used to be at the top of your listing builder. Now they're kind of towards the bottom with the new one. Make sure that for the occasion attribute, you're only filling that out if the product itself is themed in that occasion. So if you're marking it as an anniversary product, make sure that it says happy anniversary or something. It's meant to be for an anniversary. If it says, Christmas is your attribute, well, it should probably have something Christmas on it and not just an item that would make a good Christmas gift. Brian, you had good points about the actual optimization part, though.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Mind blanked for half a second there. I didn't see it on the screen. So basically you have 13 tags and you have 140 characters in your title. And if you're hitting, if something's good for a birthday, for an anniversary, for a graduation, for all of these different things, you have a lot of characters to play with. You have a lot of space to throw in all of these generic terms as well. Because when it comes to your tags and your title, more so the tags, you can be very narrow and niche down, but you could also be very generic as well, because you want it to be what people are searching for. And so if your item works for everything, see how much of that you can actually get into your tags. There's no point of just sticking to one specific thing if you can broaden it. Even if your category is one specific thing, if your category is just anniversary cards, or if your title just mentions anniversary, it's still great to have the tags so that it can be found for anything people are searching for.
Right. And in your example, 25th anniversary gift, if is let's say that that was in your tags and titles, um, and we'll say that you have birthday somewhere in there. Etsy's going to mix and match all of those words. So you could be creating, these probably aren't the best examples, but you could be matching for some really interesting terms when you consider them being kind of interchangeable and mix and match. So if you had, we'll just say like, I don't know, birthday gift for mom, but you also have Christmas in there, you might rank for Christmas gift for mom. Probably not because it's a little generic, but you understand the point of how those keywords can match together. You can broad match for some really interesting and very niche terms just by having those more generic phrases in there, because Etsy's going to split them up and play a fun little game of see how many different combos we can make, and then see who these combos are most going to pertain to based on the terms that people are searching for.
And in this instance, it can confuse things a little bit where you have 25th anniversary and birthday. It might actually show your listing for 25th birthday.
Yeah.
But that's perfectly fine. That type of thing will happen. It's better to show up for something that isn't perfectly relevant than to not show up at all.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm good to get to questions from the chat if you are.
Yeah, let's do it.
Great. We've got one from Keith. Keith had to split it in two. If Shop A and Shop B both sell an American flag, Shop A has one keyword, American flag, and Shop B has two keywords, American and flag. I'm assuming you mean tags, not keywords. Ignoring the title, which shop would appear higher in search with just the word flag? Well, as Brian and I just said, Etsy's going to mix and match those terms. So first of all, best practice would be to not enter one word tags, because that's just a waste of space, especially when we know that Etsy is going to mix and match them. Second is that relevance is only one teeny tiny factor, though it be an important factor. It's only one teeny tiny factor that's going to contribute to how that listing ranks in search. How many past sales does Shop A have versus Shop B? Well, Etsy knows that if Shop A has been selling for a long time and they've had tons of sales of their flag and lots of good reviews, Etsy's going to say, you know what, this is the more established seller. We're going to show their listing in search.
That shop marketplace experience score makes a huge difference when it comes to these things.
Exactly. And this is why we tend to see, sellers who have been on Etsy the longest are often the ones who tend to do the best. Now, if we're saying that they're both brand new shops right out the gate, they both started at the same time, this is their first listing, we've got Shop A and Shop B are both selling, a similar item, who's going to rank higher? Well, Etsy gives those brand new listings what's known as a neutral quality score, because Etsy's not going to put you all the way at the bottom of search just because you're new. That wouldn't be fair. Etsy wants to see how the customers react. So they're going to try to figure out, first of all, what are you selling? They want to try to make sure that what you've said you're selling is what you're selling based on how people interact with that listing. If you say I'm selling a flag, someone searches for a flag and they click on it, but then they click right off of it, Etsy might say, well, was that really a flag? Or was it really an American flag? Maybe that keyword doesn't necessarily define this item because a lot of people are clicking on it, not finding what they're looking for and leaving.
Personalization based on other things that buyer has searched for also make a huge difference. If they're more likely to buy something from that's closer to them, from a shop that's closer to them, then that's what'll be shown first. If they're more likely to buy something from a shop with a shorter name, I don't know if that's probably not a characterization, but the personalization will make a huge difference. If all else is equal, then they will show up in the same spot, which can't happen, but personalization makes that not able to happen, plus all of the other factors that go into search ranking.
Exactly. So lack of information here, Keith, but it does go into, just how in-depth the algorithm is. My biggest recommendation is do a quick run through of the Ultimate Guide to Search, because there is an article called How Etsy Search Works right at the top of the Ultimate Guide to Search. That's going to go over all of these unique factors that Brian and I have talked about. And even if they're shopping on mobile versus desktop, location, people who are closer to you are going to be prioritized in search on mobile more so than if they were shopping on desktop. So there's a lot of unique factors that are going to play into which shop would actually be successful.
Yep.
All right. Stevie Ray. Do you want this one, Brian?
Sure. Stevie says, my store is getting views and visits, but no orders. I changed the SEO for items I posted earlier and started following trends, but still no sales. Changing your SEO will get you traffic. That'll get you those views and visits, but that will not bring you orders. You still have to push to get sales. It still has to be, the SEO still has to be relevant to what the listing is. Your pricing has to be good enough. Your description has to describe what the people want. There's lots of other factors that go into getting a sale other than just getting more eyeballs, because if you're getting views and visits, then your SEO might not necessarily be the problem. It might be your photos. Maybe you need more photos or more zoomed in photos, or showing it in action, depending on what the item is. There's so many other factors that go into getting a sale. SEO will help you get the eyeballs, but you still have to do a lot of other things to get that sale.
Yeah, it's almost like, we spend so much time trying to appease the almighty algorithm that we forget that someone has to, when they find your item, they have to love it enough to get up from their chair, walk across the room, find their wallet, find their card, pull it out, enter their credit card information, and make that purchase. There's a lot more to it than just feeding the algorithm with good keywords. You have to ask yourself, is the item itself in demand? Like Brian said, are the photos good? Is my pricing aligned with my industry? Because if you price too low, someone might say, oh, this is a piece of junk. This isn't going to be a quality item because it's so cheap, which is immediately how I feel when I see all these $6 t-shirt listings on Etsy. I'm like, wow, this is going to feel like sandpaper. I would much rather pay $28 and know that I'm getting something nice. Or if you're pricing way too high for your industry, goodbye, Mr. Moore. Goodbye. If you're pricing way too high for your industry, that's going to make people say, well, why the heck are they charging this much? This is the most expensive item I've stumbled across today. I don't see the value there. And if you do have a lot of value in that item and you're pricing high, then maybe you're not doing a good job of expressing. If you are handmade in a sea of POD, for example, and you're actually making mugs by hand or putting, your own, designs on mugs, maybe you need
show that.
Right. Show a photo of yourself doing that, because then people are going to be willing to pay more for that because they know it's coming from your house.
Adding that perceived value can add a whole lot. Adding a video to show that perceived value. It's just, there's so much that needs to be done. It could be your shipping price. There's so many factors, and unfortunately, without seeing the listing, without seeing the item, it's hard to tell. But SEO is just one small aspect of turning a visit into a sale.
Exactly. As I always say, you could have the best SEO in the world, but if what you're advertising is essentially a polished turd, it doesn't matter if you're showing it to 100 people, 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people. They're going to say, "Ooh, no, thank you. I do not want that." So you've got to.
I can get a few people to buy that turd.
Right, just a couple people. Amanda, this one actually confused me a little bit. Can you decipher this one?
Yep. Is there anywhere to add notes not visible to your user in your listing form? Unfortunately not. That's like just hidden notes for yourself. Something like Shopify does have a section just for like your seller notes, so that you can be like, this is why I put this price at this level, to remind yourself of what things are. That is not available on Etsy in the old listing form or the new listing form. There's no fields to kind of just have notes to yourself. That is something I have requested, but it's not something that we have yet.
No, we do have fun little note areas within eRank, which is very nice for our keywords and things, but no. Created by EJF. Starla, off topic. Is that a moon glow necklace? It is. It is my the night that Mark and I got married. It is the moon phase from that night. So that their marketing, they're one of those brands. I don't know if they still do fantastic marketing, but I used to highly recommend following them just to look at how they advertised on social media their jewelry, because I thought their marketing was very witty and very beautiful. All right.
Nessus Creation says, why does eRank count the listing creation date from the date was created as a draft instead of the date it was listed as active? asking because I have several in draft as I work SEO picks, etc. Unfortunately, that data comes directly from Etsy, and that's what Etsy considers the creation date. The listing number, like the actual unique ID for that listing, has it baked in there as well. So there's really nothing that we can do about that. It's just the number that Etsy says this is when that listing was created.
Yeah. We do have some fun things that come directly from Etsy.
No.
But yeah.
Unfortunately, that data is not even available when a listing became active for the very first time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the creation date and the last edit date we have as well.
We did miss one from created by EJF. If I have multiple hand-painted ornaments, but each is a little different, better to make a new listing for each one or listing with different options to pick one. I mean, it really is up to you. Obviously, it makes things really easy for your shoppers. I personally like the idea of listing them individually because there are unique qualities that are going to probably dictate whether or not a customer is going to click and buy. For example, a lot of people color coordinate their trees. They want only blue ornaments or only green ornaments. So if they're not able to tell right away that, you know, your red listing thumbnail will say a red ornament also includes, you know, the options to get it in green, then maybe they might not click that listing. So I like casting a wider net because it allows you to hit more searches. I can see it becoming a problem for some shops though, where if you are getting into a range of, you know, we'll say a sticker shop and you have, you know, 50,000 listings, right? So, I mean, ultimately, a cool thing to do is to show, you know, one of each in your listing thumbnail and optimize for that search. But then if you have the inventory to support it and you're able to keep an eye on it, having the other options available in that listing, it's just the keywords and most of the images in main, you know, photo reflect the thing that you're advertising, but then they have the option to select others if they choose to. That's an option as well.
Exactly. You don't want your shop to be too cluttered because then people can't even find that the other ones exist. So what a lot of sellers do, if you don't have 50,000 items, is have them separate, but then within each listing still have variations so that you can choose the other color. So if someone finds the blue one in search and they're like, oh, I like that, they still have the option of the green, the red, the yellow, all the other colors within that one listing without just backing out and being like, oh, they only have blue. So without going to your shop, because counting on someone to go to your shop to see if you have something different is not a good practice just because people don't.
Right, exactly. And I mean, at one time, Etsy felt a little bit more, I guess, intimate. It felt like you were really building a connection with the seller themselves. But now when you look at listing pages, I'm even noticing on search pages, you have the option, if you found something that you kind of like, there's an option right underneath it that says, see more like this, where you can actually be directed off of that search of the item that you liked and that you were thinking about buying and click see more like this. And then you get a search page of items that are similar to that, which is a feature that I just noticed yesterday. So I feel like Brian said, you know, that person might be more likely to click the back button and start exploring that search page more as opposed to going to your storefront and seeing what else you have.
It's a lot easier, especially in the app, to just hit the back button instead of going to a shop and hoping that your search results are still there in case you were looking for other things as well. So that's why I like to do both, have separate listings and make sure that there are the variations within that listing so that people know they can have other things. Even just an image within your images to say, here's some other similar designs, check out my shop or check out this section of my shop to see the other ones. Even that is helpful more than just having separate listings, which might not be exactly what people are looking for.
Yeah, I would be wary of having, like, you know, 800 variations attached to a singular listing due to choice overload. I think that all business owners should read the book, The Paradox of Choice by Barry Schwartz, because he talks about how cognitive overload is just a part of daily life now. We are constantly faced with choices that 20 years ago we weren't faced with. And because of that, it causes a lot of people to go into this choice overload, and then they choose not to choose at all because they're afraid that they might make the wrong choice. So if you've got, a gazillion variations, you might feel like you're doing good by your customer, giving them lots of options, when in reality, they might see all those options and say, I don't know which of these is best for me. I'm going to go to a seller that has less choices. I mean, we even see that with eRank, where some of our smaller competitors who have less tools than us, people are like, I love this competitor. Whereas eRank, it's like, we've got the most. And a lot of people are like, yeah, but that's too confusing,
I just need a calculator. I don't need
Right.
all of the other function that the computer does.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see.
Jillian said, I'm confused. I've been on Etsy since 2019, 2011, and 2022, and all my shops do horrible, but longevity is going to start helping with sales. No. So longevity, it just means that you've been around longer, so you might have better practices. Etsy already knows what your listings are and who your target audience is. So if you've also changed your target audience, because at one point everyone turned to selling mass and stuff, and that kind of killed what Etsy knew about their shop. If you're no longer selling mass, Etsy still thinks you're the mass seller, so it has to reestablish who you are. So just being on Etsy for the longest amount of time doesn't help you, but having your listings target a specific audience for an extended period of time does, because Etsy just understands your listing more. It has more data about your listing and about your shop and about everything about you, to understand who it is that's looking for your items.
Yeah. And if let's say that you were, because she makes, farmhouse signs. Let's say that somebody was looking for a witch themed farmhouse sign. And Etsy was faced with, two very similar items, one from you and maybe one from a competitor. What Josh essentially said was that in that specific circumstance, if they're faced with two very similar items, Etsy is more likely to show the item that came first in these specific trending categories. Now, the odds of you being the first one to make a witch themed farmhouse sign are very unlikely, but it is just something to think about when it comes to those more saturated categories and trying to jump into those really, really late in the game. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't jump into saturated categories, but you've got to find the thing that makes your product unique in the saturated category, which is essentially what we did when we started Books and Cold Brews. There's lots of other sellers who had already obtained the licensing from these authors to make merchandise for them. There's tons of bookish themed shops on Etsy. My thought was, well, they all have very similar designs. What if we did all of ours in watercolor? And because of that, we're the only one who has watercolor specific designs for all of these books. So we were able to find a gap in that marketplace and be able to fill it.
Yeah. So like when we talk about longevity, it's about the history more than anything. It's not just about the amount of time. If an item has been listed for 10 years and not sold once, it actually has no data. So a new listing will get that new listing boost, and it will likely be ahead of that listing. Even though a listing is older, even though a shop is older, it might not be ranking as high for that search term just because there's no sales history. So Etsy doesn't actually know what it is. And so longevity that we talk about is just having more data about a listing, having sales history, Etsy knowing the type of person that's going to buy that item.
Yeah. And in your category, this is something that you might want to consider for, the farmhouse signs. I'm doing a video on Tuesday about Halloween trends. I'll give you a free one early. Ghost themed coffee bars. I don't know if you guys have seen the black and white, very aesthetic, like ghost themed coffee nooks and things with all like the ghost shaped coffee mugs, ghost shaped cookie jar. Those are becoming very, very popular. I noticed that Pottery Barn has a bunch of things that are clearly catered towards a ghost themed kitchen. And last year, searches for ghosts started in August. I even point out in the video that it looks like a ghost, the search trend graph. So just something to consider, those really aesthetic themed areas of the home. You know, these are trends that pop up almost every year. There's always something new that pops up in those specific little nooks and crannies of your house.
Jillian followed up by saying her target audience. I'm thinking, since I don't know what my audience is, Etsy doesn't either. We're getting there, work in progress. You would be surprised. Again, this is computer learning. These are computers, and they know things that we don't. So Etsy actually has more of an idea about who our target audience is and how people interact with our listings than we do. So we might not know who our target audience is, but Etsy has an idea.
Yeah.
It's good to shape that idea more and more with more interactions, with more people purchasing. And every interaction adds a little bit more data to that target audience profile. But Etsy already has something for every listing.
Exactly. Think about everything that you've ever searched for on Etsy, everything that you've clicked on Etsy, everything that you've favorited on Etsy as a consumer. Every time that you've made a search and didn't find what you were looking for and decided to search for something else instead, every little featured section where Etsy says, check out our Halloween items, check out, you know, our kitchen items, and you've clicked on one of those. Etsy's building that up. They're building up a little personal profile all about you and all of your interests and all of the things that you do. And then they're taking all of that information, which we're going to get the best version of that now with AI, by the way. Josh is all about it. He wants to lead the pack when it comes to their Gen AI advancements, more so than I've heard any other marketplace talk about. He wants to get ahead and be the first to basically, you know, pioneer with these new capabilities. With that in mind, I dare say that things, we'll use the ghost coffee bar as an example. I dare say that Etsy is going to do a much better job of matching customers to those very, very specific interests, which really helps the shops that already have a defined niche, like farmhouse wall decor, where every holiday, you know, mom changes out her sign for her coffee nook for a new holiday, but the sign needs to be the same shape and the same color palette and the same font or aesthetic so that it matches with what she's going for.
And Etsy will know.
And Etsy will know everything she does and everything you do, and they're always watching.
Every site you come from to Etsy, Etsy knows.
Exactly.
So they kind of know all of your habits, and they're building that profile about every single one of us. Internet. Yeah. Linda followed up, or not followed up, but answered someone else's thing. This is to do with the notes in the listing. I add short notes to myself in the SKU, like need photos, because SKU is something that the buyers don't see. So that's kind of a field that you can use for notes if you so desired.
That's interesting, Linda. I never thought to do that, but that's a good
idea. I
idea.
never thought of that.
That's smart.
If you do print a packing slip, though, the SKU number will be on there, so be sure to make sure that's not there.
Right. I hate making this product. Discontinue next month.
Debbie asked, can you please explain exact match? Is it based on exact match in title or tags, or both, or either? And does reversal of the word order matter in exact matches?
You want me to take this one?
Go for it.
All right. So yes and yes. You will exact and broad match in your title as well as your tags. So all of the words in your title are going to be able to be read in every combination. That's broad matching, where if you've got sterling silver necklace for mom with blue gemstone, you could still rank for blue gemstone necklace for mom because those words are all in your title. They're just jumbled up in a different combination. That's broad matching. Broad matching, though, is not as powerful as exact matching, which is where what the shopper is typing in is exactly what you have in your title and hopefully in your tags, because Etsy tells us everything in our tag or in our title should be in our tags, but not everything in our tags needs to also be in our title. So,
and it's in the exact order as well.
Yes, exactly. And making sure, like you had said, does reversal of the word order matter in exact match? It absolutely does, because if someone searches for, blue necklace, but you have a tag that says necklace blue, well, that's not exact anymore. You've just broken that exact match. Or necklace of blue, for example. The word of has just broken your exact match. Or sometimes we have to try to break our tags up because we get a great long tail keyword that won't fit as an exact match. And we've got to split it in two pieces. We'll broad match for it. I always make sure that my very, very best superstar keywords, those ones that I know have, a lot of searches, not a lot of competition, those are the ones that I really aim to keep intact, especially if they're too long to exact match in my tags. I will always try to exact match them in my title. So there's at least one area of that listing where I'm making that great exact match.
Exactly. And an exact match doesn't need to be the entire tag. So
Mhm.
if someone looks up necklace and you have blue necklace as a tag, that's still an exact match for necklace because you have that word.
Exactly.
If it was a multiple word thing, it's the exact same thing. Where if your tag had 3 words and the person just searched for 2 of those words in that same order, that's still an exact match. It doesn't need to be just the entire tag is that keyword that was searched for it to be an exact match. But across multiple tags, that would be a broad match. So exact is in that exact order without any words in between, just that exact phrase.
Yeah. If it was a tag blue gemstone necklace, you would exact match for blue gemstone and gemstone necklace and blue
But not blue
gemstone
necklace.
necklace. Right. And blue and gemstone and necklace, those would all be exact matches, but you would broad match for blue necklace because those words are not touching each other.
Or gemstone blue.
Or gemstone blue, or any other mix and match of
Combination.
combo. Right.
If you have to combine or mix things around, that's now a broad match versus an exact match. An exact match is just, it's exactly the same.
Yeah. All right.
Milika says, is there a way for eRank's changes tab to display whether there were any changes on the first page of the changes page rather than having to click on each page?
I actually really like that idea, honestly, because
I never thought of it.
I frequently had to go back. I'm sure it's possible. I will definitely bring it up with Anthony. I'll be honest. I don't go past that first page though. If I don't see any changes within the first page of changes, I'm like, maybe this listing isn't doing that great. But at the same time, for those who are doing what I always recommend is waiting, that full renewal period, that 4-month renewal period is a great time frame to see how customers are going to engage with those listings. And if you're going to get any favorites or sales, then obviously you would have to have more than that. So I'll talk to Anthony about it because that seems like a realistic
adding a date range of some sort so you could jump to a certain point, or just saying compare the top 5 versus the bottom 5 or something along those lines might be
right. Or just show me the changes and the date that the changes took place so that I don't have to see the in between.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. All right. Keith had a follow-up to Debbie's question at the bottom.
Follow up to Debbie's question. It sounds like single keywords are not that bad for exact matches, correct?
Yeah, Keith you're still holding on to that one word tag wish.
Yes and no. So again, if someone searches for flag, it's an exact match for flag and American flag. So if you have American flag, you have still exact matched for flag. So just having the extra words in there is actually really helpful. Not only because you can now fill up your tags a little bit more since you only have 13 tags, but you can have 26, 38, however many keywords can fit in there. So you have a lot more tags to exact match with, but also the results that you get for an exact match aren't significantly higher than a broad match. You do get a little bit of a boost, but not a significant enough amount to really focus on that. If something makes sense to how someone's going to search, sure, have that as a tag, have that in your title. But if you're wasting a lot of space or a lot of mind share and time, just trying to exact match for everything that someone's going to search for, you end up kind of wasting a lot.
Right. Well, it sounds like he's trying to hold on to doing the single word tags. And my question would be, think of it like making alphabet soup. You can make more words with the alphabets in your soup, the more letters you're putting into the soup, right? More letters equals more words. When you're filling out your tags, you're seeing the tag as like one little like bubble with words inside it. Entering just one word into that tag space, yeah, you're going to exact match for it. But whether your term is just flag by itself, where you haven't utilized as many characters within those tags as possible, versus we'll say American flag, I don't know, we'll put patriotic at the end. I don't even think that would fit in a tag, but we'll just pretend it does. American flag, patriotic. Well, to us, that doesn't make a lot of sense. That doesn't sound like a keyword. But in that instance, you are still exact matching for American flag. You're exact matching for flag. You're also broad matching for patriotic flag, and you're exact matching for flag patriotic. So the best case scenario here is to get as many alphabet noodles into the soup as possible, because that means that you're expanding the net and the possibilities that you're going to be found in search for people who are searching for very specific terms, maybe not just flag by itself, but maybe patriotic American flag for front porch, for example. There are so many different ways that you can utilize as much character space down in those tags as possible.
It doesn't hurt you at all by using more characters. And it can only benefit you if someone's not searching the exact way that you think they're going to search.
Exactly. So why not use as many terms that are relevant to your item as you possibly can? You're just expanding your possibilities. Yeah, there you go. So many tags for that United States flag, American flags, patriotic decor. Exactly. And if you ever are wondering like, hey, I'm selling, this type of item, and you don't have good ideas for your keywords, go into the eRank group and say, I'm selling this type of item. Maybe here's what it looks like. What would you type into the search bar to find this type of item? Because a lot of the time, other people will give you ideas that you never even thought of, and you kind of need that pure feedback.
100%. 100%. Botanical Wares says, any suggestions for how to take advantage of a listing that is getting a like almost every day, but no sales yet?
Well, I mean, it is a slow season right now, so don't be too discouraged. I don't know if you guys have gone to our sites tool recently and typed in Etsy.com into the sites info, but the reach on Etsy right now, it was like, la, 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 boo. It is not great. So to me, if it was getting likes almost every day, that would tell me people are finding it.
Yeah.
I mean, people are finding the item, and they're not just finding it and clicking off of it. They're finding it and they're liking it enough to give it a heart. So I dare say that I wouldn't do a whole lot to a listing right now, in this very slow period, to a listing that's getting a lot of hearts and no sales, because you never know. Maybe by the time these people are shopping for the holidays, they'll come back.
And that might be what they're doing, because there's a lot of reasons that people use the favorites and likes. Sometimes they just are scrolling through like Instagram and just hitting the heart. Other times they're adding it to a list. These are presents for this specific person. Their birthday's in September, so I'm building up a list now to figure out what I want to buy. They could be doing it to see if you have a coupon. They could, there's many reasons for a favorite. So basing anything on that favorite is tough. That's just something that people do. It's not something that should really factor into much
strategy. Yeah, it tells me that someone found it. That's a good thing, but you'll drive yourself mad because I favorite everything. I favorite so many things. I favorite things I'll never buy, but just because I think they're pretty and I want to keep an eye on the seller in the future. And I don't want to go all the way to their shop and favorite the shop. So I'll just favorite the item because I know that I'm more likely to go back and look at my favorite items than my favorite shops, because that's how I operate.
Exactly. I'm working on fall, Halloween, and back to school. Do you recommend releasing those ASAP? Yes.
Yeah, people are already looking for them.
Halloween, August is the latest that you should have that up, like end of July. Your Halloween stuff should be up. Back to school, that's what, September, beginning of September. So you want your stuff up now because school's currently ending. So you want your stuff up now for when school comes back in 2 months. And for fall, you have a little bit more leeway on that one. But by August, end of August, that's when people are really starting to think of fall because summer's over, and so you really want your stuff to be active and online by then. So 100% you should be getting those up ASAP.
Yeah.
Mughive says, should I not repeat the same words in tags? There's no need to. If there are certain keywords that you want to exact match for, then by all means do that, but you should only be doing that 2 or 3 times within your tags. All your tags shouldn't have the word mug because it's not needed, because mug is already there. So you will broad match for mug, no matter if it's there once or 100 times, you're going to get the exact same search results for that. So there's no need to repeat words unnecessarily, unless you're specifically trying to hit an exact match keyword that people are actively searching.
Right. And if you don't have, I mean, if it's in a highly competitive, if it's a highly competitive term, like, gifts for mom and gifts for grandma, you probably aren't going to rank for those anyway. So it's almost better, like Brian said, to not repeat them, just because it's very unlikely you're going to rank for those highly competitive phrases to begin with. So why not hit things that are unique to your specific item? Let's see.
Any idea of how long it takes Etsy to review a report of a shop I reported for selling Temu items? Anywhere I can post a shop so others can report it to. Unfortunately, there's no telling. Sometimes they get people on it right away. Sometimes the listing can be up for months and months. It's with what they're doing with the algorithm changes, where they're going to be actively looking for those Temu, AliExpress items. They will be actively knocking those listings out without them having to be reported, but that is not ready yet, unfortunately. So it's only a matter of time before that type of functionality comes and Etsy starts knocking those listings out right away. At the moment, they just don't have the manpower. Manpower is expensive.
Yeah, but as soon as they get this AI working well, I mean, it's working. It's just not working great because there are a lot of genuine handmade sellers that get caught in the mix.
A lot of false positives.
Exactly. And there's a lot of sellers who have their photos stolen, which is very unfortunate. And I'm glad that John, I was just in a GoImagine meeting, that Josh acknowledged it during the Q&A portion of the Q1 investors report. He did say sometimes, sometimes it does happen that the photos are stolen. And it really sucks for the sellers who it happens to. But in the long run, stressing about these Temu drop shipped, Alibaba, AliExpress items, it's not worth your sanity. It's not worth your time. Let's just hope that Etsy gets this AI kicking and kicking better than it is very, very soon. But I really wouldn't waste a ton of energy on it, because the thing is, the moment that shop gets suspended, another one's going to pop right back up in its place.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it. I think we did it. And I mean, we're only 4 minutes over. So that's actually better than, than what Pam and I do. All right, guys. Well,
thanks for joining us, everyone.
We'll see you. Wait, will we see them next week? Is Pam back? I think Pam's back next week.
Is she?
Let me pull out my calendar here.
So basically, people will be notified that a live is happening.
Well, here's the thing. I won't be here because it's 4th of July, which is important to us Americans. So it might just be you and someone else.
It might be Pam. I believe she's going to be back Otherwise, we probably have someone in Australia or someone else in the UK. Who knows? We have people from all over that can jump on here.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, thanks. I won't be here next week, but someone will. So I will see you guys when I see you. And Brian might see you next week.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, do all of those types of things. If you have any further questions, just pop them into the eRank group, facebook.com/eRank, I believe is the actual group, but you can find it in the link down below. And yeah,
All
from
right,
little
guys.
things, big things grow.
Nobody knows that slogan.
Nobody knows the slogan. That's eRank's slogan for a very long time.
We need to start saying it at the end of every video.
I love it. I love it. I just realized what it was. Like, I didn't even know.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.